The signal from Sector 13. The mining ship Talon 9 floated in orbit around a cold, lifeless planet called Vorta X3. It was an old planet, full of rocks and metal under the surface. No cities, no signs of life, just endless dust. But deep under, one mountain, something was waiting. Jake Rowan, the foreman of the crew, was drinking his usual bad coffee when the control panel beeped. "Signal detected, Sector 13, said the computer. Jake raised an eyebrow. "Sector 13? That place has been dry for months," he tapped the panel. The signal was strange. It wasn't random noise or static. It sounded like a pattern, a low, pulsing hum, almost like a voice whispering from underground. Jake leaned closer. His young assistant, Kara, entered the control room. "Sir, we're picking up some vibration, readings too. Like something is moving," she said, confused. Jake stood up. "Get the drill crew ready. We're going back to Sector 13. 2 hours later, Jake and his team arrived at the site. The area was full of old digging machines, all turned off. Rocks and broken cables lay everywhere. The place felt colder than usual. The ground was hard, but when they activated the seismic drill, something strange happened. The drill only went a few meters down when the ground suddenly shook. Kara screamed. "Earthquake?" "No," Jake whispered. "That's something opening." The crew stepped back as the rocky ground began to crack in a perfect circle. Dust rose into the air. Then slowly a giant round door opened from below. It was made of black metal with strange glowing symbols all around it. The center of the door split in half. A staircase appeared, leading down into darkness. Everyone was silent. Jake turned on his helmet light and spoke. "We're going in." The air inside the underground structure was dry and cold. The walls were made of metal, but not human metal. They were smooth, dark, and covered in glowing blue symbols. As the crew walked deeper, the symbols began to light up, one by one, like something was waking up. They reached a large hall. In the middle was a huge pod, shaped like a coffin, but taller than a person. Pipes and wires ran from the pod into the walls. On its glass surface there was a strange logo, a wolf's head with glowing eyes. Kara looked nervous. "What is this place?" Jake didn't answer. He stepped closer to the pod. Inside, he saw a figure, a tall creature, female, part human, part wolf. She wore dark armor with silver marks on her shoulders. Her eyes were closed, but she looked like she was only sleeping, not dead. "She's beautiful," Kara whispered. Jake reached out and touched the pod. The symbols around it flared to life. The pod hissed. Psh! Everyone jumped back. The glass slid open. Cold steam poured out. The figure inside opened her glowing yellow eyes. She sat up slowly. Her movement was smooth, controlled, not confused, not scared. She stepped out of the pod and looked at the crew. Her voice was deep and powerful, even though she spoke slowly. "Who rules the stars now?" Nobody answered. Jake took a step forward. "I'm Jake. We're humans. Miners. We found you by accident." She looked at him. Her eyes narrowed. "Humans. The same species that burned my skies. The same race that ended my empire." Jake was confused. "What are you talking about? You've been asleep for a long time. Maybe thousands of years." The creature tilted her head. 3,000 years, and still your kind digs where it should not." Suddenly, the walls around them began to shake. Lights flickered. Something deep inside the underground chamber had come online. From the back wall, another door opened. This one much smaller. Inside was a dark hallway filled with strange weapons, armor, and something glowing. The woman turned and walked toward it. Kara whispered, "Jake, what do we do?" Jake stared at the strange woman walking into the shadows. "We follow her," he said, "because I think we just woke up a queen. The Empress remembers." The dark hallway behind the pod led into a massive chamber, hidden beneath the planet's surface for 3,000 years. It wasn't just a room. It was a throne hall, ancient, cold, and deadly quiet. The walls were covered in faded murals, telling stories in symbols Jake couldn't understand. But one image was clear: a giant wolf-headed queen, standing over burning cities, and humans running in fear. The Empress walked ahead slowly, her armored boots echoing across the floor. She didn't speak. Her long cloak dragged behind her, brushing the dust of centuries. The lights in the hall turned on by themselves, reacting to her presence. They glowed with a dim blue hue, like they remembered her. Jake, Kara, and 2 other crew members followed carefully. None of them dared to speak. There was something about the Empress that demanded silence. Power radiated from her, not just physical power, but something older, deeper, like she belonged to a forgotten time when gods walked among mortals. At the center of the hall stood a black stone throne with ancient weapons laid around it. The Empress approached it and placed her hand on the armrest. The throne lit up, symbols flashing, whispering strange sounds. She finally spoke. "This world was once mine." Jake stepped forward. "You were a queen?" Her glowing eyes turned to him slowly. "I was more than a queen. I was an empress, ruler of the Elvark Dominion, wolf-blooded conqueror of 5 systems. My empire stretched across stars." Kara frowned. "We've never heard of your empire in human history." The Empress laughed softly, not with joy. It was a bitter, cold sound. "Of course not, because your kind wiped it out." The crew looked at each other, confused. Jake asked carefully, "We destroyed your people?" She didn't answer right away. Instead, she raised one hand. A holographic projection appeared in the air. It showed a war in space, giant alien ships shaped like wolves fighting against human fleets. Planets burning, cities falling. "Your ancestors came like fire," she said, pretending peace. But in the shadows they feared what they could not control. They feared me. Jake stared at the image of destruction. "But we've never been told about this war." The Empress looked directly into his eyes. "History is written by the victors, and the victors buried me." She turned away, walking slowly to a sealed door behind the throne. Jake followed. "Why were you buried? Why didn't you fight back?" The Empress stopped at the door, her face darkened. "Because I trusted someone I shouldn't have. A human who stood beside me, fought beside me, loved me, and then betrayed me." She placed her hand on the door. It scanned her palm and opened with a hiss. Inside was a chamber glowing with soft green light. Glass tubes filled the walls, each one holding strange creatures, asleep in stasis. Wolf-like warriors, bigger than any human, half machine, half beast. Silent, frozen in time. Jake was stunned. "Are these your army?" The Empress nodded. "What's left of it? The rest were destroyed when the humans bombed my homeworld. These are the last of the Moonclaw Legion," Kara whispered. "Why now? Why wake up after 3,000 years?" The Empress didn't answer. She walked to a console and tapped a few glowing buttons. Suddenly, one of the stasis pods lit up. The warrior, inside, twitched. Its eyes snapped open, glowing the same yellow as the Empress. Jake stepped back. "Whoa! Is it alive?" "They are all alive," she said, sleeping, waiting for my voice. Then she turned to Jake, and her voice changed, lower, sharper, like a command. "Tell me, human, what year is it in your calendar?" Jake hesitated. "It's 3149. The Empress paused. She closed her eyes. Her face went still. 3,000 years, she whispered. "And still your kind walks free." Her eyes opened. Something dangerous burned inside them now. "Then I will finish what I started." Jake held up his hands. "Wait, you can't just start a war again. That was long ago. Most people don't even know who you are." The Empress stepped closer. "Then they will remember." She leaned in. "But I see something in you, Foreman Jake. You are not like the others. Your blood, it speaks to my machines. That should not be possible." Jake blinked. "What do you mean?" She didn't answer. Instead, she placed her clawed hand on his shoulder and whispered something in her own language. The machines around them glowed brighter. A scan began to run over Jake's body. Silent, invisible. And in the background, a single word appeared on the Empress's throne screen. Hybrid detected. Her eyes narrowed. You're not just human. The forbidden weapon, the ancient chamber, was no longer quiet. Warning lights blinked softly on the Empress's throne console. Machines that had been silent for centuries now hummed in low, metallic voices. The words flashing across the screen, repeated like a chant. Hybrid detected. Hybrid detected. Jake stared at the message. Hybrid? What does that mean? The Empress didn't answer right away. Her face was unreadable, but her body had gone still, like a hunter when it smells something unexpected. She stepped back and looked at him with new eyes. Your blood is not pure. You carry something old, something ours. Jake's heart pounded. I'm just a miner, nothing special. But even as he said it, his hand burned where she had touched him. A glowing line was forming beneath his skin, like ancient code waking up. Kara whispered behind him, Jake, your hand, it's changing. He looked down. His veins were glowing faint blue, pulsing slowly, matching the light of the alien. Walls, I don't understand. The Empress's voice was low and sharp now. There is a place deeper below, a vault, sealed before the fall. It holds the core of my power, a weapon that breathes and thinks. It was too dangerous to destroy, too loyal to give away. She turned to the far side of the throne room and pointed at a sealed gate. It is called Vorthax, and it only answers to my blood. Or someone like you. Jake's voice cracked. You want me to open it? The Empress stared at him. I want to know why you can. The gate was ancient, made of dark stone and smooth black metal. Alien carvings ran across its surface like veins. It had no handles, no buttons, just a glowing circle in the center waiting for a touch. Jake approached slowly. His hand trembled. What if it kills me? The Empress said nothing. Kara looked at him with worry. Jake, you don't have to do this. But he stepped forward. He placed his glowing hand on the circle. For 1 second, nothing happened. Then, the gate shook violently. The carvings began to twist and move like they were alive. The stone split down the middle, and with a loud grinding sound, the door opened. Behind it was a massive chamber filled with green fog, and inside something was breathing. A shape, long, low, and full of wires and armor, lay in the middle. It looked like a beast, like a machine, like a god of war, Its eyes were shut but glowing faintly red. The Empress stepped in behind him. Vorthax, my last war beast, my living blade. As if hearing her voice, the creature stirred. Its huge head lifted slowly, its eyes opened, and it spoke, but not with words. It sent a sound straight into Jake's mind, a voice made of metal and memories. I smell her. And another. A broken blood. A missing link. Jake fell to his knees, clutching his head. The voice was sharp, full of static and sorrow. The Empress watched silently. Jake gasped. It's in my head. The beast stood fully now. It was massive, taller than a tank, shaped like a predator, with blades instead of claws. A machine made for war, but with eyes that knew pain. Vorthax looked directly at Jake. You carry the lost blood. Not full, but enough. Are you my master now? Jake didn't know what to say. The Empress stepped forward. He is not your master. I am. The beast turned to her. You are broken. Time has wounded you. Your army is dust. Your name is forgotten. The Empress's jaw tightened, but her voice remained calm. Then let us make them remember. Outside the chamber, Kara was checking her scanner. Her hands were shaking, something was coming. A signal from orbit. She ran to Jake. Jake, we've got a problem. Jake turned to her, still shaken from the connection with Vorthax. What now? She handed him the scanner. The screen showed a fleet of small dots approaching. Ships. From Earth Command. Someone must have picked up our energy spike. Jake cursed under his breath. The Empress looked at the screen. They come quickly. They remember fear well. Jake turned to her. You can't fight them. They'll attack without warning. We have to hide. But the Empress raised a hand. I do not hide. I return. She stepped toward Vorthax and placed her hand on its head. A new set of lights flashed on its back. A chamber opened. She looked at Jake. This weapon is alive, but it has no path without a rider. You can ride it. Jake's eyes widened. What? Part of you is mine, maybe by mistake, maybe by fate. But that part can command him, if you wish. Kara stepped in. Jake, this is crazy. We're just a crew. We drill rocks. We don't ride war beasts. But something had changed in Jake. A deep voice inside him was waking, a voice not his own. He looked at the Empress. If I do this, no killing, not unless we're attacked. I won't start a war. The Empress tilted her head. We never start wars, Foreman Jake. We finish them. As the Earth fleet descended toward the surface, ready to strike, a tremor ran through the mountain. Lights burst through the ground, and rising slowly, glowing with forgotten power, came the old war beast Vorthax, with a human hybrid on its back, and an Empress at its side. DNA secrets. Vorthax stood still at the edge of the crater, steam rising from its armor plates. Its glowing red eyes watched the sky. The Earth fleet was now in low orbit, cold, silent, and waiting. The humans didn't fire yet, but they would. Inside the control chamber beneath the surface, Jake sat beside the Empress. Her eyes were fixed on a small scanner. It was analyzing Jake's blood taken with a single prick from her clawed finger. The machine beeped softly as data appeared. Symbols flashed. Unknown genetic code found. Match. 48%. Elvark. Match. 52%. Human Jake stared at the screen. That can't be right. The Empress didn't speak. Her jaw was clenched. Her fingers curled tightly around the edge of the console. Say something, Jake said. She turned to him slowly. Her voice was quieter than usual, but sharp as a blade. Your blood is not a mistake. It is designed, engineered. Jake blinked. Engineered? She nodded. Long ago, near the end of the war, we began a project, a last hope. My scientists tried to create a hybrid, half human, half Aelvark, a bridge, a weapon of peace or of control. Kara, standing nearby, looked shocked. You tried to breed your way out of war? The Empress ignored her. Her eyes stayed on Jake. But someone betrayed the project. The data was destroyed. We believed all the test subjects were dead, but one must have survived. One left the system, went into hiding, on Earth. Jake felt like the air was getting thinner. So, I'm part of this project? The Empress looked at him with something strange in her eyes. Not anger, not pride. Something deeper. You are the echo of a forgotten dream. A dream I buried. A dream that betrayed me. Suddenly, a new voice filled the chamber, metallic and ancient. It was Vorthax speaking through the walls. The hybrid project was marked as cancelled by High Command. But that command code did not come from your hand, Empress. She turned sharply to the ceiling. Explain. Accessing hidden logs, Vorthax said. Command code belonged to High General Veyron. The name dropped like a stone into deep water. The Empress froze. Jake saw her expression change, from shock to rage to something colder. Veyron. He was my second, my shield, my friend. Kara stepped forward. Wait, you're saying your own general betrayed you? Why? The Empress walked away slowly, eyes locked on the wall. Because he feared the hybrid project. He feared that peace with humans would make us weaker. He wanted to finish the war with fire. She looked back at Jake. He deleted the project, killed the scientists, and when I confronted him, she stopped. Her voice broke for the first time. He put me in the cryo chamber himself, told the world I had died in battle, said it was honorable. Jake stepped closer. He buried you alive, she nodded slowly, and now if his line survived, they will come to finish what he started. Suddenly Kara's comms beeped, static, then a voice. This is Commander Rourke of Earth Command to unknown signal origin. Identify yourself. Jake answered. This is Foreman Jake Rowan, Mining Team 73. We found someone. She's not hostile. A pause. Then the voice returned. You are ordered to power down all alien systems and await military landing. Do not approach the object you've activated. The Empress stepped closer and whispered. That voice. It carries his blood. I can hear it. Jake looked at her. You mean Veyron's bloodline? She nodded. His heir. Hours passed. Earth soldiers landed outside the crater. They wore black armor with red visors and heavy rifles. Their leader, Commander Rourke, walked at the front, tall, confident, and cold. Jake met him near the edge of the site. You need to hear her out, Jake said. She's not the enemy anymore. Rourke didn't blink. You have no idea what you've done, that thing you woke up. It's not a queen. It's a weapon. Jake stepped forward. She was betrayed by her own people, just like we've been lied to about history. Rourke's voice was calm. We didn't lie. We erased a threat. That species nearly wiped us out. Jake's voice rose. She didn't want that war. Rourke stared at him, then smiled. Slightly. You're part of it, aren't you? The old project, you've got her blood. Jake froze. You knew? He asked. Rourke nodded. Oh, we knew. There's a file on you buried so deep, it took 3 red-level clearances to open. He leaned in. You're not supposed to exist, Jake. You're the last broken piece of a failed nightmare. And now, you've activated it. Suddenly a low growl echoed through the canyon. Vortex stepped out of the crater, claws glowing. Behind him, the Empress walked like a ghost from the past, slow, proud, and ready. Commander Rourke raised. His hand target locked. Jake shouted, Stand down, we can talk. But the Empress was no longer calm. She stared at Rourke, her voice low. I see it now. You wear his armor. You speak his lies. You are Veyron's blood. Rourke smiled coldly. That's right. My great-grandfather killed your empire. The Empress stepped forward. Her hand lifted. Then I will end his shadow. Lasers powered up. Vortex growled. Jake stood between them. No more blood. Not again. The air crackled with energy. One wrong move, and the past would repeat itself. Earth strikes first. The sun rose over the jagged rocks of Vorta X3, painting the battlefield in cold gold. The mountain crater glowed faint blue from ancient alien energy humming below the ground. 2 armies now stood facing each other, one from the past, the other from the present. On one side stood Vortex, the living weapon of the Aelvark Empire, coiled and ready to strike. Its red eyes burned through the dust. Beside it stood the Empress, Kale Rin, her cloak billowing, her armor humming with a power that hadn't walked the galaxy in 3,000 years. On the other side, Commander Rourke, a man born from the bloodline of betrayal. He stood tall in black Earth Command armor, flanked by soldiers in full battle gear. His voice crackled through the comms. Stand down, all units. Target is ancient Aelvark remnant. Orders are clear. Destroy if hostile. Jake Rowan stood between them, arms raised. Please, just wait. She doesn't want war. But Rourke wasn't listening anymore. He had already made up his mind. Earth had struck first once before. And now it would do so again. Below the surface, Kara worked furiously at the alien console. She had tapped into the Empress's system without permission, desperate to find a peaceful way out. But what she found shook her. A hidden message, buried deep in the Empress's command logs. A recent entry. Initiate Protocol Echo Wolf. If hybrid activation confirmed, Prepare fleet. Kara whispered. No. She was waiting for this. She looked up at the screen. A star map blinked slowly. Symbols she didn't understand marked a distant moon. Dozens of dots glowed there. Ships, asleep under ice, waiting for a signal. Her stomach turned. Had Jake played right into her hands? She ran to him, breathless. Jake, she's not just defending herself. She's summoning something. She has a fleet. Jake shook his head. No, she said she didn't want war. But as he turned toward the Empress, her eyes met his, and he saw something new in them. Not hatred, not fear, strategy. Commander Rourke raised his hand. Target the beast. If it moves, fire. Kale Rin raised her voice loud and clear. If you fire that weapon, your cities will burn before the dust falls. Jake stepped between them again. Listen, to me, she was betrayed once. If we do it again, there's no going back. Rourke didn't lower his hand. Move, Jake. I won't. The moment stretched thin, ready to break, and then, a sudden movement behind Rourke. One of his own soldiers turned and aimed a plasma rifle at the commander's back. Rourke turned just in time. What the? The soldier fired. Rourke went down, wounded in the leg. The battlefield erupted in confusion. Soldiers shouted, scrambling for cover. Lasers powered up. Jake tackled the shooter. The helmet fell off, revealing a young woman with silver eyes and wolf-like pupils. Not human. Kale Rin stepped forward, voice sharp. You, I know you're sent. The woman stood tall. My name is Seelan, last of the Shadow Claws. I was planted in Earth Command 30 years ago. I serve the Empress. Jake's mouth fell open. You're a spy? Seelan turned to him. A protector, hidden in your ranks, waiting for this day. In the chaos, Earth troops opened fire. Vorthax roared. Its armor flared red, intercepting every blast with a shifting energy shield. Kale Rin lifted her hand. With emotion, ancient cannons rose from the crater edge, still functional after 3,000 years. Jake screamed, No, don't! But the war had already begun. Inside the alien control room, Kara made a desperate choice. She accessed Protocol Echo Wolf Na. Kitur. Command shimmered on the screen. Activate fleet? Yes, no. She hovered over no, but paused. The enemy had struck first, and Kale Rin was losing control of the battlefield. Kara gritted her teeth and hit yes. Far across the system, on a hidden moon base orbiting Jupiter, something awoke. A sea of sleeping warships blinked too. Life.engines warmed, lights glowed. A 3,000-year-old fleet was coming home. Back on Vorta X3, Jake pulled Rourke behind cover. Why didn't you listen? Jake said, pressing a cloth to his wound. Rourke coughed. She was never going to stop, neither was I. Jake looked around. Soldiers dying, machines fighting, the past bleeding into the present. He saw Kale Rin walking through the storm like a god, untouchable, untamed. She raised her hand to end it. Jake screamed, Wait! He ran into the battlefield, unarmed, unshielded. Stop. Vorthax growled but didn't move. The Empress hesitated. Jake fell to his knees. You said peace once mattered, that the hybrid project was a dream. Then let me be that dream, don't end it here. Kale Rin's eyes locked with his. Everything stopped. For one heartbeat. And then she lowered her hand. The cannons powered down. Vorthax stood still. The soldiers froze. Jake looked up. Call them off. Call the fleet back. Kale Rin closed her eyes. She whispered a single word in her ancient tongue. And across space, the ships turned. Kara ran to Jake. You did it. Jake didn't speak, because he wasn't sure what he'd done. He looked at Kale Rin, and she looked at him. Not with rage, not with victory, but with calculation. You carry my blood, but you are still human. She turned and walked away. We will see what that means. The Hidden Empire. The Earth fleet left orbit quietly, not in defeat, but in fear. No official message was sent. No news was broadcast. It was as if the encounter on Vorta X3 never happened. The military called it a rogue mining event. All records were sealed. All footage deleted. The soldiers who survived? Reassigned or silenced. But the truth didn't stay buried for long, because something had awakened. And now it was moving. Jake sat alone inside a cold chamber, deep in the ruins, staring at his glowing hand. The strange alien energy still pulsed beneath his skin, unchanged since the day he touched the Empress's gate. He didn't feel like himself anymore. And worse, he didn't know what himself even meant. He wasn't fully human. But he wasn't fully Aelvark either. He was something new, something old, something designed. Behind him, the door opened. The Empress entered without a word. Jake stood. "You lied to me." She didn't deny it. "I withheld truth, because you weren't ready." He stepped toward her. "And now I am?" She studied him. "You stopped a war. That is more than my generals ever did." Jake folded his arms. "I stopped your war too. So why are you still sending signals?" Her face darkened slightly. "Because you need to see what we left behind." They took a ship, not one from Earth. It was older, shaped like a spear, with a core of living metal and wings of light. Vorthax flew beside it in silence, his body folded into a sleek battle form. Their destination, a frozen moon orbiting Jupiter, hidden in shadows. No Earth probe had ever returned from there. Now Jake knew why. As they approached, the fog cleared, revealing a city carved into the ice, glowing from beneath like a sleeping eye. Kara stared in shock from the back seat of the cockpit. "What is this place?" Kaelrin answered softly. "The last world of the old empire. The one place we never surrendered." Inside the ice city, machines awoke. Walkways lit up. Doors opened. Soldiers, Aelvark warriors in silver armor, stepped out of stasis pods. They didn't speak. They didn't question. They simply knelt when they saw her. Their queen had returned. Jake watched in awe as the Empress walked through their lines. A horn sounded, deep and ancient, and the main chamber doors opened. Inside was something breathtaking, a galactic map projected in the air. Entire systems marked in red, others marked in gold. And at the center, Earth. Kaelrin stepped forward. "These were our colonies. Now they belong to others, humans, raiders, scavengers. But some still remember our name." She pressed her hand to the console. A series of messages played, whispers from other systems calling her title. Empress Wolf. "If you live, return. We are still loyal." Jake's heart pounded. "They're waiting for you." Kaelrin turned to him. "No. They're waiting for us." He stepped back. "Me? I'm not part of your empire." She moved closer. "You are, not a weapon. You are a symbol. Proof that the past and future can exist together. My soldiers will follow you, even if they doubt me." Jake shook his head. "You think I want power? I want peace." Kaelrin smiled faintly. "Then you understand what true power is." That night, Jake sat on a high ledge above the glowing city. Kara joined him. "You believe her?" she asked. He didn't answer. Right away. "I believe she believes what she says, but I don't know if I can." Kara looked up at the stars. "You ever wonder if we're the bad guys?" Jake nodded. "Every day since we found her." Kara turned to him. "Whatever you choose, I'm with you." He looked at her. Really looked. Maybe the Empress had a plan. Maybe Earth had their secrets. But here, in this in-between place, was someone real. And she mattered. In the war chamber below, the Empress stood before her generals, now fully awake. General Vexar, her new first commander, growled softly. "He is not one of us. He smells of Earth, of weakness." Kaelrin didn't blink. "He is our future. Without him, we will fall again." Vexar paced. "Then we must test him. See if the blood in his veins is worthy of the crown." The next day, Jake was taken to a chamber carved in solid ice. Inside was a black throne untouched for millennia. Kale Rin stood beside it. Sit. He hesitated. Why? She looked him in the eyes. Because only one with my blood can survive. It. Jake stepped forward. The throne pulsed as he approached. He sat. Instantly, energy raced through his body. His mind was flooded with visions, the Aelvark Empire at its height, battles in deep space, betrayals, victories, the birth of the hybrid project, and its fall. He screamed. Kara ran forward, but Vexar blocked her. He must endure it alone. Jake's heart thundered. The throne was not just a seat. It was a memory engine, a judge, a gateway. He saw Kale Rin's past. He saw Veyron's betrayal. He saw the true purpose of the hybrid. Not to destroy Earth, not to rule both species, but to stop something worse. Something ancient. Something older than Aelvark or human. Something that fed on war. In the visions, he saw a shadow beyond the stars, black and endless, and it was coming back. Jake's eyes flew open. He gasped for air. The Empress knelt before him. You saw it, didn't you? Jake nodded. Voice trembling, he said, the war was never about us. It was about keeping them out. Kale Rin whispered, they are the reason we built the hybrids, the reason we fell, and now, the reason we must rise again. Jake looked up. His voice was calm now. Then we don't need an empire, we need an army for all of us. The last choice. The cold stars above Jupiter burned faint and distant, but in the shadow between them, something moved. Not a ship, not a fleet, something ancient, something alive, something hungry. Back on the ice moon, alarms echoed across the Aelvark stronghold. Red lights spun across the walls. The holographic map above the war table showed a rip in space forming just beyond Neptune. Kale Rin stood motionless as she watched the impossible readings appear. It's not a fleet. It's a wound, in reality. Jake and Kara stood beside, her reading the data, a tear in space, dark energy bleeding out, massive, unstoppable. Kale Rin's voice dropped into a whisper. They've returned. Jake frowned. Who are they? The Empress turned, and for the first time since she woke, there was fear in her eyes. They're called the Nullborn. They live between stars. They feed on memory, on identity, on history. They erase empires like ink from paper. Kara asked, why now? Kale Rin looked to Jake. Because the hybrids were created to stop them. You are the spark. They've smelled it. And they're coming to snuff it out. In Earth orbit, the High Council was already meeting in secret. Old generals, politicians, and corporate voices whispered behind closed doors, and Commander Rourke, recovering from his wound, stood at the center. She's building an army, he said coldly. And now there's a rip in space. An admiral asked, and you believe the two are connected? Rourke nodded. Of course they are. She summoned it. We either strike now, or we'll kneel to a wolf queen and die to her monsters, the Yar. Room went quiet. Then a single message arrived from deep space. This is Foreman Jake Rowan speaking not just for Earth but for the future. We're not facing an empire. We're facing extinction. Join us or stay behind. But choose fast. Kale Rin stood before her army, no longer a lost queen but a commander reborn. 10,000 soldiers in wolf-marked armor knelt before her. Behind them, warships rumbled to life. Above them, the ice city opened to the stars. Jake walked beside her, wearing no armor, no crown. But everyone watched him. He was the link, he was the question, and soon, he would be the answer. That night, Kale Rin led Jake into the Chamber of Flames, a ritual place where ancient emperors were judged. In the center stood a stone, monolith, a final test. Touch it, she said, and all of you will be known. Your courage, your fear, your heart. Jake stepped forward. Kara grabbed his arm. You don't have to prove anything to anyone. He looked at her. If I don't, they won't follow me when it counts, he turned. and placed his hand on the stone. Visions hit him like lightning. He saw Earth, drowning in fire. He saw Kale Rin, kneeling in chains. He saw Kara, lost in darkness. He saw himself, holding a blade made of light and sorrow, standing alone, in a storm of stars. Then a voice spoke, not alien, not human, but both. Will you lead them into war, Jake Rowan? Will you bleed so others may rise? Will you be more than man and less than God, he whispered. I don't know, the voice replied. Then you are ready. The stone turned white hot, and then cracked. The chamber fell silent. Kale Rin bowed her head. He is chosen. The next day, the Nullborn arrived. The sky tore open like paper. From it poured living shadows, ships without engines, creatures without names. They moved like smoke, but struck like lightning. They erased matter. They turned soldiers into whispers. Entire satellites blinked out of existence. Kale Rin's fleet launched. Earth sent its ships too, for once, not to fight each other, but side by side. In orbit over Neptune, the final stand began. Jake stood on the bridge of an Elvark flagship beside Kale Rin and Kara. Vorthax was coiled in the launch bay, his claws glowing with energy. The hybrid signal in Jake's blood connected him to every system, every ship, every mind. He was the bridge now, the link, the last thread between extinction and survival. Kale Rin looked at him. This is your war now. Command it. He nodded. Let's finish what was started. The battle was chaos. Nullborn devoured ships in seconds. Kale Rin's warriors fought with brutal precision. Earth's fighters flew faster than they ever had. And Jake did something no one expected. He flew into the storm. Vorthax roared as he leapt from the ship, carrying Jake into the center of the battlefield. Inside the heart of the Nullborn swarm was a single black core, pulsing, watching, commanding. It spoke. You are not real. You are a broken thing. You are a scar. Jake raised his voice. No, I'm the memory you couldn't erase. He unleashed Vorthax. The beast burned like a dying sun, tearing into the shadows. But it wasn't enough. The Nullborn began to close in. Jake screamed. Kara! Back on the bridge, Kara made a choice. She rerouted all remaining energy from the fleet into Jake's signal. The hybrid code inside him exploded with light. For one brief moment, he became more than a man. He became every memory the Nullborn ever tried to erase. And they screamed. The shadows folded inwards, collapsing into themselves. The Terran space sealed. Silence returned. Jake drifted in space, unconscious. Vorthax carried him back, damaged but alive. Kara ran to him in tears. Kale Rin stood behind, silent. The Empress knelt beside the hybrid. Not as a queen, but as a mother, kneeling before the future. 3 days later, Jake opened his eyes. He smiled faintly. Did we win? Kara kissed his forehead. You ended it. Kale Rin spoke from the shadows. Not ended. Changed. The war is over, but now comes the rebuilding. Jake sat up slowly. What now? Kale Rin looked to the stars. Now, you lead. Jake stood on a new world with humans and Elvark building side by side. Children played under 2 suns. Old flags were burned. New ones were raised, not of empire or earth, but a symbol, the wolf and the man, standing back to back, looking up. The Empress watched from a distance, and for the first time in 3,000 years, she smiled.